Hey everyone, it's that time once again. Mark the Movie Man here. So glad you could join us as we talk about another indie horror film. This one's an anthology film, and it's got the theme of dolls. It's called Evil Little Things. Evil Little Things. It's directed by Matt Green and gives us the story of a young boy, a little boy and his mom who go to a thrift store and they cross paths with a doll maker there. And the little boy becomes very interested in a couple of the dolls that the doll maker has. And so he tells the dark history of those dolls to the hesitation of the mother. And we get to see how those stories play out, as well as how the story plays out with the little boy once he decides to pick his doll. This is an interesting film. I liked the three stories that they had in here. Zach Galligan from Gremlins shows up in here as one of the stories. He plays the stepdad of the little boy looking for the dolls, and it is definitely a role you are not going to expect to see him in, but it was very impressive taking on that role, and he does very well in it. Now, the first story that we get in here involving a leprechaun doll, I enjoyed that story. I really liked what they came up with around the doll and leprechaun, and there's like secret doors and all kinds of really cool things. The only rough part of that story was the editing for me on that. The editing was very noticeable, the way it was pieced together. It felt like it was either missing some parts or whatnot. Didn't quite flow visually as well as I would have liked, but I did like overall the leprechaun doll and how the story played out. If it was maybe put together a little better, I would have enjoyed it more, but it's definitely interesting. Now, the second story really reminds me more along the line of the classic films like Dolly Dearest and all of those mid-80s, early 90s Dolly films. This one was really cool. It involved cosplayers and involved a young woman who liked going to doll conventions, and she ends up crossing paths with an ex-boyfriend of hers from high school, and there's really creepy things going on with the doll that she has that's her favorite. And man, this one was a solid story. It was well edited and creepy. Now, all of these are shot on a limited budget, so you have to take that in mind, but even with that, they work out very well, giving this doll personality, making you wonder, are these things in her head or are they real? And yeah, I really loved how all of that played out in that story. It was probably the creepiest story out of all three in this anthology. And then the last one is probably the second darkest. That middle story is the darkest, I'm going to say, but this second one is going to make some people uncomfortable, put Zach Galligan in a different light, and it was a pleasant payoff for this whole story, and a good way to end the anthology. Overall, this is a very interesting film, especially if you like doll horror, which is a genre. If you look out there, there's plenty out there. There's not just Child's Play. If you like doll horror, I think you're really going to enjoy what they came up with in this anthology. And I could see them doing even more anthologies with this, another Evil Little Things, or maybe involving other, doll type figures or even action figures or something. I'm not sure, but you could almost see this being a series. But if you like independent horror anthologies and you like doll horror, check out Evil Little Things. Overall, it's a solid entry into the anthology genre, and it's going to be out May 12th, so check it out on VOD, and if you're still quarantined, and even if you're not. And also, if you can, check out our Patreon. We got a lot of great stuff over on our channel over there, and we're putting more stuff up there all the time. Subscribe here if you haven't already. I appreciate your support, and until next time, remember, keep that ticket stub.